This is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by Frank Smith of Matchroom here in Phoenix for the last time, unless you want to do something tomorrow, Frank. But a success. What are you trying to say? Obviously, a successful night in the end, a great night of boxing. Won Francisco Estrada, ending the trilogy bout with Chocolatito as the victor. What did you make of that main event?
Unbelievable main event. They gave us 24 great rounds before. It was funny, the first two rounds were a bit quiet and was worried about what was going to happen. But they both delivered as they've always done. I thought it was close. I thought Estrada took the early rounds. I thought it could have been a draw, but could have arguably gone either way. I definitely want to see a fourth one myself.
I was about to ask, is the fourth one kind of at the top of the list, or do you think there's other opportunities out there, i.e. a unification?
I do think there is other opportunities, but I think the fourth fight is still the biggest fight, and I think people would arguably, like, you only have to look on social media, on Twitter, people responding to it. Everyone's still very interested in that fight. We know what they give us every time, so that's definitely something we look at for next year. I spoke to Estrada's manager as well. That's something they'd look at also.
Julio Cesar Martinez defeating Samuel Carmona. What did you make of Julio's win?
I didn't. I sort of watched 7 or 8 rounds. Wasn't the most entertaining fight we've seen, but good for Julio Cesar Martinez to retain his belt. I think there's some big fights out there for him now. Ultimately, I think the Sonny Edwards fight is a very interesting fight. We looked at that in the past. So let's see how things play out on that front. We looked at it to come and do it in the US or Mexico. Maybe we could do it in the UK. But that's the big fight to be made, I think.
On that front, with tonight, it was a very close fight, Frank, and mentioning Sonny Edwards there. It was said on the broadcast, Chris Mannix and DAZN favoured Sonny Edwards over Julio Cesar Martinez in the fight. What do you make of it?
Look, Sonny Edwards is a great talent. We all know that. We all know what You only have to watch Sonny's fights to see what he's done and what he can do, and he's improving all the time. I think Julio Cesar Martinez, I think he'd be the toughest fight for both of them. But I'd look forward to seeing that. A lot of, again, social media shows that's the fight people want to see.
Frank, Diego Pacheco looking as devastating as ever, such a great talent. What did you make of his brief stint in the ring tonight?
Unbelievable performance. He's really improving. I think we signed Diego when he was 17 years old. He's been with us, just over 4 years now. I think he's going to go all the way, and it's great to see. I think he's definitely got the ability to become a world champion. He's growing his personality. He's becoming a great fighter, learning a lot, and hopefully we get him out in the UK early part of next year and keep building him.
Frank, over in the UK, we saw Tyson Fury stop Fury-Chisora tonight. A brutal watch at times, a tough watch. Did you manage to catch up on it?
I saw bits of it, yeah. I think, again, I caught up more with it on social media. Probably could have been stopped earlier from what I saw. Chisora is his own, he's the toughest man you can find. He wouldn't have pulled himself out there in any way and would have made sure the corner didn't do it. From what I could see, it was the right decision, and maybe could have been done earlier. But it's hard with Derek. I think as much as I would say you've had an unbelievable career. I can imagine Chisora probably still wants to keep going. I don't know what he said post-fight, but knowing what he's like, he loves the sport of boxing and always wants to keep going.
That leads on to my next question very nicely in terms of what could be next for him now. I think most people would like to see him sail off into the sunset. He's earned a great deal of amount of money in his career. I'm sure that he could do so now and look after his family and enjoy his downtime. If he wants to come back, does the responsibility fall on promoters and yourself and everybody involved in the sport to say there's no more opportunities there for you, go and enjoy your life?
I think there's always going to be fights for Chisora, is the truth, because of what he always gets in there and gives 100%. He always, builds it up well. Ultimately, if you're asking me personally, I think, and again, I haven't watched it all, but it's probably at the point, and I probably said it to him 2 years ago, but he's come back then, he, beat Kubrat Pulev in his last fight. Tyson Fury's a level above. He's pound for pound, or number 1 heavyweight in the world. It was from what I could see, it was a step too far for Chisora. I think there's always going to be opportunities and fights there for him, to be honest. I think that's just the truth. He's he'll be the one who makes that decision now.
Bob Arum had a few choice words about yourselves, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom this week, and the way that you've spent the money which came into the deal with the Zone. What have you made of what he's had to say?
I don't think he said anything about me, did he? I don't think.
Not you personally.
He knows who I am. Just Bob Arum being Bob Arum, says it all the time. You only have to look at the year we've delivered, whether it was, Canelo Golovkin, Canelo Bivol. Tonight, we had over 9,000 people in here for tonight's show. We had a great show in Cleveland a few weeks ago with 7,000 people in there. He says about building stars. Ultimately it takes time to build people up. Diego Pacheco is an example of someone who we've had for 4 years now. Some people move quicker. Some people might become a world champion in 2 years, 3 years. But we will deliver, like we've done in the UK and other markets. We will deliver stars and world champions, from their pro debut all the way through. I think it's just Bob Arum being Bob Arum. I can't really. You look at their year; they haven't done much on ESPN with their massive broadcast deal this year.
Frank, Josh Warrington returns next week in a fight which I've speaking to a lot of people this week actually fancy Lopez to cause the upset if it would be seen as an upset.
Yeah, look, Lopez, our guys were with Lopez in the gym. He's been in the UK now, just coming up to a week. Looks in great shape. He's a great talent. The truth is people don't know a lot about him, but he's a great fighter, and it's a real test for Josh Warrington. But we've always seen what Josh Warrington can do, especially in Leeds in front of his home crowd, the atmosphere that's created there. I think we're going to see a great performance from Josh Warrington, but it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough fight for him to retain his belt. But I think Josh Warrington's experience will show and will shine through, and I think we're going to see a good win from him.
Well, Frank, as always, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your period here in Phoenix, and I'll see you in Leeds next week.
See you in Leeds, mate.